Yesterday I shared with you from Isaiah chapter 40, verses 1 through 3, and we focused on verse 3 where a voice is crying in Isaiah about to prepare the way of the Lord. And that passage from Isaiah is quoted. It appears in Luke chapter 3, and it's associated with John the Baptist. And John the Baptist goes into the region of the Jordan. He's proclaiming a baptism of repentance for the forgiveness of sins. And then we have those words from Isaiah 3 to 5 that appear right in Luke's gospel. They're quoted in chapter 3. And then John begins to speak. And our verse for the day is Luke 3, verse 8, where John says, "Bear fruits worthy of repentance. Do not begin to say to yourselves, 'We have Abraham as our ancestor.' For I tell you, God is able to raise up from these stones children to Abraham." So what's interesting to me is that Luke, in his gospel, he takes the passage from Isaiah chapter 40, verses 3 to 5, and this is the lens through which the early church sees the life and ministry of John the Baptist, that he is that voice crying out in the wilderness, now in a new time, in a new generation, and he is the one preparing the way for Jesus, who's going to come. And yesterday, when I talked about preparing for people to come over and how when that happens, we all clean up and try to get things straightened up and organized, and that's what John proclaims in his ministry. And verse 8, where he says, "Bear fruits worthy of repentance," John is basically telling people, you need to show that you're cleaning up and changing your life. Whatever areas in your life that are not honoring God, that you need to grow in, improve in, change. If there's a direction you're going in and you need to turn around, which is what repentance means, to turn around, to change our direction, that's what we need to do. And he also uses this interesting phrase of, don't begin to say to yourselves, "We have Abraham as our ancestor." Just because, now obviously John was Jewish and he's speaking to his fellow Jews, but he's saying, hey, just because Abraham was your ancestor, that doesn't impact how you're living your life, and you don't stand under Abraham's righteousness. You need to be righteous yourself, and you need to bear fruit worthy of repentance. Jill and I aren't much when it comes to growing food or crops or gardening. We've had a couple tomato plants that we've tried to nurse to at least produce a few tomatoes. But the whole purpose of having a tomato plant is so that it bears fruit, right? And anything you're growing, you want it to bear fruit. In the same way, John the Baptist says to you and to me, make sure that you're creating the conditions in your own life, that you are bearing fruit worthy of repentance. And that, as I always go back to, means the fruit of the Spirit, and love and joy and peace and all the rest. Are you seeing that in your life? And even more importantly, are other people seeing that fruit?